So there's a lot of shit on social media. A lot. But amidst the noise and clutter and general horror, there's old people making YouTube videos. Which is something that, to me, feels like the closest we will ever get to proof that there actually is a God. And sure, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I'm also not entirely joking. I spent a lot of time critiquing digital media and the effects that it's had on our societies, but today I want to focus on a genuinely positive outcome that I think we've seen emerge, which are the voices of older generations online. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the boomer generation and their contributions, which can't be said to be particularly healing overall, and I'm also not claiming that all old people contribute positively online. But in general, it's the boomers' parents who I think should be the blueprint of how and why to have a digital presence. And I think the presence of these wise elders serve as a reminder that despite what popular culture may claim, we do have a lot to gain from aging and a lot to learn from the people who have already been through it. Because currently, and perhaps for most of the history of the internet, the landscape of creators has been dominated by the younger generation and the content that they've deemed important and good. The most popular YouTuber today is Mr. Beast, whose work is probably best summed up by being called sensationalist and colorful. He's also recently come under fire for shady business practices and questionable morals. And I think he sets a good precedence for explaining the different features that characterize seasoned influencers online. It's loud, flashy, and above all entertaining. There's a certain speed and way of cutting the content that ensures that there's absolutely never a dull moment and that there's always something unexpected happening. Even the way he speaks is particular, using what is now coined as an influencer accent.
The influencer accent everyone's been talking about sounds like that because it's designed to manipulate you. You know what I mean. Hey guys, this is my dry erase cleaner and surface restorer. Today we're gonna clean some whiteboards. Nobody actually talks like that. It's a form of code switching that influencers learn how to do in this app because it keeps people watching their videos. All major video-based platform algorithms reward retention when people don't scroll away. And the staccato uptick in your voice when you're talking keeps people watching for three main reasons. First, the rising tones make it sound like the video is always unfinished, so people have to keep watching because they can tell that something's coming next. Second, it makes the person seem like they're seeking validation from you all the time, so you as the viewer feel like you're more actively participating in the video, which makes you more engaged with it, and you also just generally feel more comfortable with the informal vibe. Third, it's metalinguistic signaling communicating social information. It's telling people, I'm a certain type of person, I'm an influencer, and then that frames your perception of how much you think you're gonna enjoy the video. Probably most influencers don't ever actually think about this. We're not actively trying to manipulate you, we just figure out through trial and error what actually works. So we're sort of behaviorally conditioned into saying things that will get more views. And then there's the people who just figure it out through observational learning or trying to copy other influencers, which is exactly how sociolects like this perpetuate themselves, and I think that's really cool.
And like this creator points out, it's not Mr. Beast's fault that he's young and thus speaks like this. If anything, he's conditioned. But the effects still remain that the content on some fundamental level has departed not only from realism in a linguistic sense, but also from realism in terms of the content itself. And I'm not just referring to the fact that some of his videos are fake, which I personally couldn't care less about and which seems rather obvious to me, but I'm referring to the fact that there's a genuine disinterest in even remotely creating something that is genuine. Because why would you? Genuity doesn't get you views. Sensational, unexpected videos with obscene cash prices do, however. And so, we make them. And this type of media landscape gives birth to other fundamentally lacking in meaning content. Anything from disrespectful street interviewers taking advantage of drunk people, to Kaizenat screaming every fucking word, to AI-generated spiritual content, and you have this sea of nothing that is only concerned with retaining your attention and catering to what a younger person might want. And this is not to sound ancient, but sometimes being on social media reminds me of spending like a bus ride with a group of loud teenagers. They're loud, very hyped up, and constantly bouncing from one topic to the next without any real focus. It's like their energy is endless and being in their presence is draining. It's hard to keep up with, and it's also hard to not just wish that they'd get off the bus soon. And I think the result of youth-dominated platforms has become a sort of youth supremacy. Everyone on social media is young, look young, or wants to be and look young. There's no shortage of products, methods, and tips to help you achieve the goal of both being and seeming young. And in many ways, it's a natural rise, right? Like, we prioritize youth because it's synonymous with health and on the most basic level. And anything that reminds us of our mortality, we spend our best efforts to pretend doesn't exist. Science is busy trying to find the answer to how we can remain youthful longer, not for how we can age quicker, because old age comes with health complications and inevitably death. This obviously isn't just a figment of social media, but I think that social media helps perpetuate this culture. It reminds me of when I started swimming in a public swimming hall in high school, and for the first time, I got a severe reality check. I'd been so used to seeing a type of young, fit, flawless, and usually white body online that being in a place where I could see all the selections of my real community naked was such a profound experience. Everyone was different and unique, and certainly not perfect. Even though the place where I live, the population is generally healthy, and especially the population who would go swimming in the morning may represent a group of people who are perhaps even more healthy. But still, they were imperfect, and not what I'd been convinced via digital culture that you should look like if you took care of yourself, lost some weight, and did a Kardashian-inspired workout. And this was surprising because I myself never really spent a lot of time fixating on Instagram models or fitness content or anything like that. If anything, I mostly followed anything but this type of content. But yet my point of view of what was normal was so off. And I think a lot of the same effect happens in terms of aging, because the aging population is and has been to a large extent absent from social media. And I think this has distorted our general point of view from understanding that there are physical health benefits to being young into a full-blown youth supremacy culture, where being anything but young is just bad. And what's problematic with this is that not only does it contribute to, I think, a general anxiety about aging, which is inevitable, and thus the anxiety will be perpetual, but we've lost sight of the very real benefits of aging. And this is where the old people of YouTube come in. Immediately, they set themselves apart by having a slow and unpolished approach to their videos and platforms. They're patient, measured, and calm, much like how they speak in real life. Their videos are free from the anxieties of virality, likes, and subscription. Instead, they focus on substance, sharing life lessons, personal experiences, and reflections that take years to accumulate. It feels on some levels like the elders see the platform that is the internet and use it for what it really is worth. Perhaps because to them, the worldwide broadcast still carries with it a certain amount of weight and responsibility. In contrast, we've grown up with this type of exposure being normalized and accessible to most at all times, rendering it less important and paving way for a stream of content that is missing, for lack of a better term, a certain kind of honor, I think. The YouTube elders, on the other hand, treat their channels with great importance. You can tell that they're well thought out and intentioned, and the content itself tends to focus on things that matter most in life. Things like love, family, happiness, and all the life lessons that they've learned along the way. In contrast to the more youth-driven hustle content that seems to prioritize monetization and virality over creating any substantial content. Just take the example of the Hawk Tuah girl, or any other internet viral star moment. She's had one street interview that went viral, and off of that interview, she's now launched a whole podcast and influencer career. What she went viral for has no intention behind it. It was not a showcase of any particular important part of her life or her personality. And even though I'm sure she's kind and intelligent and an interesting person who might have a lot to say, her efforts to pivot that viral moment into a career where she tries to convince us that she has something valuable to say still comes across as disingenuous at worst and fragmented at best. In contrast, the older creators seem like they have something genuine and important to say, and they do it quite earnestly. In a way, you can't really blame the youth, though, because this lack of real substance is also simply a direct result of someone's age. Now, I'm by no means very old, but I do have the privilege to have aged a bit, and some of the things that stand out to me currently when interacting with younger 20-year-olds is that they very clearly haven't experienced much, and as a result, they often don't really know much about themselves or what they truly think is important. And there's no way to really mask this. It shines through in everything they do. When you discuss academic theories with someone who's recently finished high school and have very little to attach their newly acquired knowledge to, for example, they tend to struggle to produce much real value because they're simply assuming and guessing what a world they've yet to experience might be like. So it's no wonder that content creation dominated by young TikTok and Twitch stars might have that sense of emptiness. A lot of them give advice, whether it's in business, dating, or in general, about things they've clearly never experienced. And some of these influencers do get successful very young, and as a consequence, they never actually participate in the real world. And because of that, I think their content becomes even less relatable as their audience grows up and has no option but to go get a job, to get a degree, to struggle paying bills and finding a place to live. All these crucial experiences could potentially create some amount of wisdom. And I think it's very valuable. Everything that happens to us that we wish didn't is ultimately what shapes us for better or for worse, into the people that we are. So for that reason, it's almost a given that the people who sit on years of experience would be the best people to give advice, and that the people who have just recently graduated high school might not be. And this is nothing new, right? This is something that has been the case in our societies since ancient times. Elders would always make up most of the advisory board in any community, but I think this tendency has gotten a little lost in the digital and modern era, for that matter, that is marked by progress, youth, and constant innovation. Elders have sort of been stowed away and viewed as deteriorating, unhealthy, and unhelpful people. And I think a part of this is that the rapid pace of technological advancement and the prioritization of new forward-thinking ideas have sometimes overshadowed the value of wisdom and experience that elders traditionally bring to the table. This shift in focus has altered the composition of advisory roles, as younger generations are often seen as better equipped to navigate the complexities of the digital world. But I think this might be changing with the presence of our elders online, who cater to something we long for, of substance, of real wisdom and connection. But the benefits of aging aren't just about being better content creators. There's been research that found that despite the physical and cognitive declines that come with age, older people are generally happier than younger people are, because their emotional regulation improves with age and they tend to experience fewer negative emotions. Researchers like Carstensen suggest that the reason for this is the way older people view time versus how younger people view time. When you're young, you tend to only see possibilities and view time as something that is stretching out ahead of you and that contains no end, while older individuals see it as finite for very obvious reasons, meaning that it's easier for them to focus more on meaningful relationships and emotional fulfillment, which in turn leads to a better overall well-being. So despite the overarching narrative that focuses on all the downsides of aging, many researchers have developed a more optimistic view of the aging mind, revealing that the cognitive abilities of older adults are a lot more nuanced and resilient than we tend to assume. While certain cognitive functions such as processing speed and short-term memory may decline with age, many other cognitive abilities remain intact or even improve. For example, verbal skills, vocabulary, and language comprehension tend to peak later in life, continuing to grow and develop well into our 70s or even 80s. Furthermore, older adults often excel in areas of social cognition, such as understanding complex emotional and interpersonal dynamics. Studies show that elders have a heightened ability to assess characters and make sound judgments about people's intentions, a skill sometimes referred to as social wisdom. The And this capacity for empathy and insight into human behavior is something that comes from years of experience and is less prone to decline with old age. This makes older adults particularly adept at navigating complex social situations, offering counsel and resolving conflict, often with more finesse than their younger counterparts. Recent research also suggests that older adults are more adept at emotional regulation, meaning they're better at managing and balancing their emotions, particularly in stressful situations. Their ability to focus on the present and prioritize meaningful, positive experiences may be one of the reasons why they report greater life satisfaction despite facing some inevitable physical and cognitive challenges. And this focus on emotional and social well-being is something that the younger generation could benefit from, I think. The fast-paced, performance-driven culture of social media can exacerbate feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and inadequacy, especially when the metrics of success are tied up to something as arbitrary as likes, followers, and viral moments. In contrast, older YouTubers provide like a calming, wise presence that reminds us of the value of slowing down and living more intentionally. Elderly content creators demonstrate that age doesn't necessarily diminish one's ability to engage with the world meaningfully. Instead, it offers an opportunity to hone in on the things that matter most. I just think it's interesting because pretty much all of these qualities lend themselves well to content creation that is of real value to others. Verbal skills and language comprehension, social wisdom, emotional regulation, and not to mention the wealth of actual life lived, lends itself to storytelling and relatability. It's like the perfect recipe for an influencer. And I, for one, I'm not sure that our generation will have similar capacities when we eventually reach our 70s and 80s, because of how influential these platforms currently are on our culture and our minds. I can imagine it's not guaranteed that we will sit on similar cognitive abilities after 60 years of short-form screaming content. And so I feel very grateful to be able to witness this era of social media creation, and I think everyone who hasn't seen them already should have a look. I'm also not saying, by the way, with this whole video, something as simple as that all old people have wisdom, nor that it's a given that simply because you're aging, you've wizened. A lot of people certainly don't. And one of my favorite poems by Bukowski touches on this, as he says that age is no crime, but the shame of a deliberately wasted life among so many deliberately wasted lives is. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot of wise elders out there, but some of my favorites that the algorithm has blessed me with are Life with Sandra Hart, Cheshire Lass, Dry Creek Wrangler, and Miss Faye's World. So yeah, check them out, I guess, and be healed and become wiser.